thanks first of all to Robert and Philip for coming along tonight and to lead the tasting. Um, we've got a couple of extra drams courtesy of the guys as well, so big thank you for supporting the club, and yeah, pass over to you guys to lead us through the drams.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for organising this, Tom, and delighted obviously to have Philip with us. I think my company, Hyfern, is the UK importer for Langatun, and we've been importing Langatun, I think, for 6-7 years. So been working with Langatun a little while, and but I think we've got an expert from Switzerland, so I think I'll hand over to yourself, Philip, to introduce the drams and maybe tell us a bit more about the distillery and its history. Don't want to steal your thunder, I mean. I don't want to get it wrong and then be corrected. So, but thanks so much for coming along, and let's enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much. Very nice to be here. Very pleased to see the crowd, and I'm happy to show you. We have 5 drums prepared for you guys, and we will start with a little bit more fruity whiskey and go until the end where we have a little bit more peaty whiskey. As I heard, Tom, is it right? We have like a chat where everyone can go and type in some questions, and then you will read those out loud. Is that correct?
Yeah, or if people want to come in, they can raise their hand, and at an appropriate point, I'll let you know, and they can ask you the question direct.
Perfect. Just interrupt me, whatever. That would be great. So I would say let's start with the first drum. I can tell you something about the distillery later on, but I think best
we're getting 30.
start with the first drum, right? I would recommend that we start with the Cardera cask finish, which is in this lineup next to the Old Deer, which is a cask-proof whiskey, the most fruity, in my opinion, in this lineup. So we start with this one, although it's not 40 ABV, it is actually 49.12 ABV. And you may ask why 49.12. That's oddly specific, isn't it? And why would you guys bottle a whiskey with exactly this odd number? And if you know where we are located, it makes a lot of sense. The distillery is located in a small town in Switzerland called Arwangen. And the postal code, the zip code of the town is 4912, and this is why all our special bottlings, our single cask bottlings, are bottled at the ABV of 49.12. That is mainly the reason, and we are also just we have the opinion that all the special bottlings shouldn't be at the ABV of 40%, and that's why we are going a little bit higher there. Sometimes we also do bottle it as cask strength, but I don't know. I guess you guys just have the 49.12 ABV. Actually, the Cardera, I guess you have the second edition. Is that right, Robert?
I'm not sure which. Have you got the bottle there, Tom?
Because there are 2 editions that we have made so far.
So this was distilled on 12th of March 2014, and it's batch 3, 49.12%.
Perfect. Okay. So what is Cardera cask, or what does Cardera cask finish actually means? Cask finish. I assume I don't have to tell you what exactly does it mean, but what we do always when we call something finished, that the main maturation of our whiskies isn't in an ex-bourbon like we know from most other distilleries that are doing finishes. Our base is always a Chardonnay, so a white wine cask from Switzerland. So that's our base, our main maturation. And then we finish it in really a lot of different types of casks. So we bring on the market a lot of different cask finishes like really classic ones like sherry, like rum or port cask finishes. But then as well, we bring a lot of different wine cask finishes because that's actually our specialty, different kind of wine cask maturation. And Cardeira is a lovely a winery in Portugal, and we have a bit of a connection because actually it's owned by a couple that left Switzerland a couple of years ago. They are from Zurich, and they were, of course, into finance in Switzerland, and they got really bored. They had a lot of money, and they just thought like, that can't be it, you know. We have to do something more out of our life. So they bought a what's it called, a vineyard. A vineyard, yeah. So they bought a vineyard in Portugal, and they have a really small production, and the only goal there is really to make a very heavy and aromatic wine. They have some white wines, some rosé, but mostly really charismatic red wines that they ship into Switzerland. And we met them, and we tried their wine, and we loved it, and we said that would be a very nice opportunity to mature our whiskey in those casks, because the wine is so aromatic. And I believe that you guys probably smell and taste the fruitiness and this extreme aromatic wine aroma out of the whiskey.
Yeah, we're getting some tasting notes in the chat. So nose like stone fruits like peaches, milk chocolate grapes, oaky, not a hint of smoke on the nose, but it comes through on the palate with orange oil, cinnamon, and ginger spice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's actually one of my favorites. Probably it has something to do that I really like to drink the Cardeira wine as well. This one is always in my cellar, and I think it's a really good match to our spirit and the Chardonnay cask. Definitely, it's really balanced and getting really well together.
I didn't have any of this left in the office, so I'm not on the same dram. But to add to what Philip was saying about the strength, did you know that in Scotch you're not allowed to label to the second decimal point? Intriguing.
I think it's the whole EU region that is not allowed, as
maybe
far
the whole
as I
EU,
know.
but in Scotch we're allowed a tolerance of what is it, 0.1 or something. So that like if we were labeling to the second decimal point, it'd be a mockery of that. So
yeah.
The Swiss are much more accurate than we are.
Absolutely. Although, of course, we have also a little bit of a tolerance, and it doesn't have to be absolutely accurate. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe a couple of words to the history of the distillery. We always say that it all began in the year 1857, and probably if you are familiar with the history in Switzerland, depending whiskey, or in the case of whiskey, then you would say, wait, something is wrong, because until the year of 1999, it was illegal in Switzerland to produce whiskey. So how can you guys have started in 1857 when it wasn't legal to produce whiskey until 1999? Well, it all began with a guy called Jacob Baumberger. Jacob Baumberger, he was a distiller and brewer, and in the town called Langenthal, so that's where the name Langatun comes from, the old Celtic name for Langenthal. He had a small distillery and a brewery, and at that time the production of whiskey wasn't legal, wasn't illegal yet, and we don't know for sure what exactly they distilled, but since they produced beer and they also used peat, that's what we know, we assume that they produced whiskey or a whiskey-like spirit. And when the Great War came in Switzerland, then was the point that they forbid to produce whiskey, because they said that all the base food, like you can't produce alcohol out of it, because we needed to feed our citizen during the war. And then in 1999 in Switzerland we realized that the war is over now. It took us a little bit longer, okay, but then we changed the law back, and in that time some beer producers started to produce whiskey, and our company did not exist anymore. What happened was that in the third generation, the brewery was sold to a big brewery, and then Hans Baumberger, so the great grandson of Jacob, decided after his retirement to reopen the distillery part, not the brewery part, but the distillery part, and start again with distillation. And he wanted to produce mainly whiskey, and that's what he did in 2005, actually. So in 2005 he gave life to this family business again, and that's the starting point when Langatun Distillery, as we know it today, restarted distilling and produced definitely now whiskey. And it is the first, and until now, the biggest whiskey distillery that the main business is whiskey. So yes, there were some beer producers, as I told you, that they started a little bit earlier than we did, but their main business is still beer. So we are like, yeah, as I said, the first and biggest whiskey distillery that the whiskey is the main business. And I would like to go now to the second cask finish that we have in our lineup. That is the Chateau Greffreya cask finish. As well, a cask finish. So again, we have the main maturation in a white wine Chardonnay cask, and then we finished it in a Chateau Greffreya cask. Once again, it's a red wine cask, and it's from Lebanon, so it's a Lebanese red wine. And before I got to know Chateau Kefraya, to be honest, I had no idea about Lebanon and its really interesting wine culture. They actually really produce a lot and really good wine, and also they are famous for a little bit more heavier and aromatic red wines. And since we always are on the look for some really aromatic and heavy red wines, and we got to know the people from Chateau Kefraya, we said that's a perfect match. And so we imported their casks from Lebanon. And yeah, really interesting drum. Cheers, and let's try it. Are there any questions so far?
No questions yet, other than someone asking if they can get, if their Secret Santa can get them a magnifying glass because the labels I've made are too small for them to see the drams. But there's a few people who really enjoyed the last dram, and yeah, saying that they're getting a heavier wine influence on this one. Frank's asking what the ABV was on this one.
Again, 49.12.
This one was distilled in April 2013 and bottled February of this year.
Yes, exactly. That is as well. That's the third batch that we did on the Chateau Kefraya. And I believe we have one more cask in our cellar with the Kefraya. That I don't know when it will be released, but it's definitely not being like a lot of batches from this one. And we probably won't buy any more casks because they are ridiculously expensive.
But shipping's probably taken a toll on importing casks as well, getting them from Lebanon.
Yes, yeah, we definitely prefer like Italy, which has amazing wines, and we can get them with our little transporter directly, and it's a little bit easier than Lebanon. But it was absolutely a successful experiment. We all love this product, and it is, yeah, it's definitely something special, and I really like the influence that it has. Like a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit nutty, marzipan, dried figs, maybe elements.
Yeah, Ben says prunes and figs on this.
Yeah,
and said he'd probably guess it as a sherry if it was blind. Phil's comparing you to a Glenfiddich 15 Solera that he had years ago that he really enjoyed, and milk chocolate, burnt sugar, red wine gums. I can definitely get the red wine gums on that, Ben. I'm not sure, Philip, if that's a note that you're familiar with, wine gums, but very popular sweet in the UK.
Never had anything like. I don't even know what it is. Yeah, no idea.
Robert, you're gonna have to send him some wine gums.
Yeah, just proving that flavors are you're personal, isn't it? It's your own data bank of flavors. Yeah.
Philip, with the distillery, is it somewhere you can visit if you go to Switzerland, like, you know, similar to the Scottish distilleries?
Yeah, absolutely. It's although a little bit different than what I've experienced so far in Scotland. Well, what you can book is like a tour and tasting if you are a group of at least 10 people. If you're less than 10 people, you pay for 10 people. But what's a little bit special, and that's what I've not really experienced so far in Scotland. Correct me if I'm wrong, and there are distilleries that do the same thing. But you can just come to us and visit us. We have a little shop, and there's always someone around that shows you through the distillery, and the master distiller will be absolutely pleased to show you what we are doing. And so you just walk in, and you see what we are doing, and you can taste whatever we currently have in our range, and as well our whiskey, as our gin, rum, matured rum, vodka, and different whiskey liqueurs as well. Yes.
Oh, that sounds really good. Just have to hopefully drink drive tolerance isn't too low in Switzerland, I guess, or get my wife to drive when we go.
Absolutely. And the train station is right next to the distillery, like 2 walking minutes. So public transportation system in Switzerland is amazing. Just use that one, and you'll be safe.
Perfect. Ewan's asking, if you pay for 10 people, but there's only one of you, do you still get 10 people's worth of whiskey on the tasting?
Even more. It doesn't really. I mean, as long as you're there, we think you should try whatever you would like to try from our product. So there's no limitation in what you can or can't drink during a tasting. But of course, we would appreciate you buying a bottle that you like in the end, of course.
That's brilliant. And one more question from me. Sorry, guys, to monopolise. Are you at a high altitude, and does that affect your, like, where do you mature your whiskey? I guess I'm asking.
Yeah, no, we're not at a high altitude. We're like around 600 meters above sea level, so not particularly high. The storage actually goes down into a cellar, so we have like 5 stories below ground, so really a stable environment. And we say, and we are actually we got the opinion that the result is really good, and we wouldn't change it. Yeah, but it's really hard to tell. Would it be, or how would it be different if we wouldn't mature it in this cellar, because we never did it somewhere else, so we can't really compare. There are actually distilleries that do mature their whiskies high in the Alps, at a really high altitude, which is really interesting. Although I'm not sure, because as far as I can tell, I would say that the higher altitude it means that probably with more pressure on the whiskey, that it helps maturing the whiskey. Although because of the absolute cold weather, probably it'll slow it down again. So I don't know in the end if it's really like having an impact so much on the whiskey that you really can see a difference. I don't know, but I would say it's probably really hard to see the difference if you would have the absolute same cask in a higher altitude. Yeah, there will be a difference, but is it better or how is it different? Really hard to tell. And I mean, you guys know every cask is different. So if you have two casks, one really high altitude, one really low, you can't really compare them because every cask is different, so to say, right?
And to raise a question on that, all the expressions you do have are single casks, at least for tonight?
No. The single casks are only the two first ones, so the cask finishes. Those are the single casks.
Thank you.
Right.
Just making sure.
Yeah, sure. That's good. That's good.
And probably not necessary to ask, but still doing. Is there any coloring or chill filtration involved, or not at all?
So we do not color at all. It's non-colored. Everything that is below 46 ABV, we do chill filter it. So everything that we have tonight is 46 or higher. So those are not chill filtered.
Thanks.
Of course.
Rewinding a bit, the cellars are very cool. They're like something out of James Bond. There's this sort of just nondescript garage on a street, and then you go inside and there's a lift shaft down underground. But, they're quite fun.
No, it's really cool. We've done a few sort of world tastings, and I think, Scotland and England, you always get racked or dunnage warehouses. But when you talk to, say, Mackmyra, they've got the Bodas mines where they store their whiskey. Paul John have got sort of an underground cellar. We've done Milk and Honey, who've got cages by the Red Sea, and they're maturing in sort of 5 or 6 places to play around with it. It's just interesting to hear how people store their whiskey and their thoughts on it, I think, because once you move out of Scotland, there's a huge amount of variation in how people are making and maturing whiskey. And it's exciting. I guess it's the new frontier of whiskey in a way, and the advantage the world has, I think. Ryan says it sounds like a cool place to visit, and Phil's trying to organise a road trip to Switzerland. So you might have 10 people turning up soon, Philip.
Watch out.
That would be lovely. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The winter wedding. And here we have something that really you can see how we started at Langatun, because you see on the label of the winter wedding there is a deer and there is a bear, and we have made the first whiskey we've made was the old deer, which we are going to taste and at the next one we will taste will be the old deer. And this was the first one, and the second one that was produced was the old bear. And the winter wedding was the first attempt to bring a new kind of whiskey to the market without having new whiskey in the storage. So what it is it's a blend, 50% old deer and 50% old bear. That's why it's a wedding, and it was originally a limited edition just for the winter. So it's the winter wedding, and then it was, people really loved it, and they said, come on, we would like to drink this one all year and not just buy it in winter. So it came to our standard range, and we produced it until a couple years ago, and we are not producing the Old Bear anymore. And right now we are selling the last couple of bottles of the Winter Wedding in Switzerland. So there won't be any more Winter Wedding coming to UK or anywhere in world, as a matter of fact. So those bottles you have will be the last ones of this Winter Wedding. Cask wise, we are talking around 25% Chardonnay cask again. So as you see, the Chardonnay cask is always a little bit of our base. We really use this Chardonnay cask the most. And then we have as well around 25% of Fino sherry cask. And then we have 50% of Chateauneuf du Pape, French red wine cask. And the French red wine cask has actually a smoked barley whiskey in it, but a little bit different smoke than we are used to, because it's not peaty whiskey, it's actually beechwood smoke that is used for this whiskey, which would be the part of the Old Bear. So the Old Bear is slightly smoked with beechwood and matured in a Chateauneuf du Pape red wine cask, and the Old Deer is sherry and Chardonnay cask. And together it's a really, in my opinion, well balanced whiskey with 46 ABV. And the smokiness is, in my opinion, almost just a little bit of a like a spice, or a little hint in the background, and not really a smokiness as we are used to when we are talking about smoky whiskey. Or you guys think, no, definitely smoky, you just get it right away?
People are saying in the chat, sweet and dried fruits on the palate, earthy smoke, spicy again, which seems to be a bit of a signature of the brand. So I don't know if you find that, Philip, but this is, I think it's really nice. Ben said trifle and custard on the nose, and I get that on the nose and the palate. It's very nice. It's definitely not overpowering smoke. It is very subtle in the background for me.
Absolutely. And it's not just that we're not using heavily smoked barley or malt. It has two other reasons why it's that really lightly smoked, or the result is really not that smoky. It's two reasons. One is beechwood smoke is not as aggressive as the peat. So the peat smoke itself is much more aromatic than the beechwood smoke. Okay, that's one reason. And the second one is, and in the beginning we did not know that, we had to find out like by trial and error. So when you are doing your cuts, and you have your at the second distillation process, you have the middle part, the heart. The alcohol is really nice. That's exactly what you want. And then at the higher temperature, there comes the you may help me in English. The
tails. We got the heads, hearts, and tails.
Which brings a lot of like etheric oils and stuff you don't really like, but it's not poison or anything, so you can't use it. But we usually do not really use that part. We really just take the heart. And we realized a couple of years later when we wanted to produce a really smoky whiskey, and we were like, why isn't our whiskey getting really smoky? Because now we are using heavily peated barley, okay? And then we realized that the phenols are coming in the tails much, much more than in the hot part. So this is another reason why our whiskies, even the Old Crow that we are going to taste in the end with the heavy smoked peated barley, isn't as smoky as we know it from other distilleries, because we really just use the hot and not the tails.
Got a question for Robert in the chat, just asking if there's anywhere in the UK that you can still get this from.
Yep, I've just checked for you. I'm aware of three. I'm sold out, but just looking online, so 3 of them. Gauntleys have got it at 67.15, Nichols and Perks at 62, and Master Malt at 67.94. That's for 500 ml at, what is it, 46%?
Yes.
Sounds like Nichols and Perks have just stolen that sale then. Judging by the chat. Thank you.
No problem. I'm not aware of anyone. I think everywhere is sold out of Caldera. I think you must have got the last bottle. Yeah. And,
We're pretty lucky, I think, with getting this lineup.
Sorry?
I think we were pretty lucky with getting this lineup. You said a couple of them were pretty close to the end.
Yeah, I think that was it's a nice way to do it, though. Just get some things that are the last, unusual drams.
Yeah, on the Caldera, we are all also sold out. I have a little tasting bottle I had it in my archive, so I could taste it now. I also brought an archive bottle that is still sealed, just to show you guys, but I won't crack that open. But yeah, sold out as well here in Switzerland.
Well, that is a perfect introduction for a question about the seal, because I've never seen anyone with a seal like the seal that you guys have. So how come you've gone for that rather than the sort of cellophane wrap or something else?
I have to say, I have no idea how that came to be. Probably when that was actually a bottle that Hans bought way in the beginning. Well, actually, as soon as he started bottling the Winter Wedding, he introduced this bottle with the Winter Wedding. Before we had all just this bottle that maybe from Bruichladdich or something like that. I think they have a pretty similar bottle, and then he looked for something a little bit more special that you don't see every day. And about this seal, I guess it was just a seal that came with the bottle, right? So, and in the beginning, there was on the seal there was a head of a lion, and after like 5 years, we changed it, and now it's got a little L for Langatun on the seal. So if you find a bottle with the lion head on it, then it's a really old bottle, and that's a little thing that you can tell if it's a really old bottle from the beginnings or if it's a new one.
Thank you.
So maybe just a word about the building or which we are distilling in. In 2005, when Hans restarted distilling, he had a little chamber, so to say, in a local brewery. He came to them and said, I want to start distilling. Can I use this chamber? You're not really using it. And they said, yeah, of course. And after a couple of years, the company started growing. The demand got bigger and bigger, and he realized he can't do it there anymore. So he looked for a place, for a home of the distillery, and found it in Orvangen, which is a small town just next to Langenthal, where he started. And there was a building, a really old building, from the year 1616. So, by the way, our gin, the gin that we produce, its name is 1616 because that's the year the building was built. And at that time, the purpose of the building was to storage grain from the farmers that had to, we call it the Zehnte, which means the 10th part, and that was the taxes in this day. So all the grain, from the grain that the farmers grow, they had to give the 10th part of their grain to the local lord, so to say. And this building was to store this taxes, so the grain, the belonging of the local lord. And this is it's really nice because it started with grain, and now we are distilling grain, which is quite nice. And it's it's a really nice building to be in, a historic building. Although in winter it's getting a little bit cold in there, but yeah, it's really lovely to visit as well. Yeah.
The floors look like a molting floors, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, let's go to the cask proof, I would say. Okay, that would be the Old Deer cask proof, and I told you guys a little bit about the Old Deer before at the winter wedding. So again, just shortly, we have around 50% Chardonnay cask, white wine cask from Switzerland, and about 50% sherry fino cask from Spain. So from the Chardonnay we get really fresh fruitiness, and then from the sherry, as we all know it, a little bit more darker red berries, maybe a little dry fruit, raisins, vanilla kind of flavors, which I think it's really interesting. It's really fruit forward, so the main aromas are definitely fruity. And as cask proof, I have here a 58.7. I don't know, what do you guys have?
62.2.
Okay, that's the good stuff. But aroma wise, I would say yours must be pretty fruity as well. I don't think that changed that much. Of course, with our quantity, it's not able to maintain more or less the exact same aromas over the years. So it's not like a standard whiskey that we know from the big distilleries, although it is our classic whiskey and our standard, but it's always fruity whiskey, the Old Deer. Okay. And it's always, yeah, like I'm always a little bit surprised when I'm drinking this one, because for me, with it's really easy drinkable, even though with this high ABV, it's buttery, it's soft, although really intense aroma wise. Or you agree with me, guys? It's really easy drinking, right?
Yeah, Ben definitely agrees with you. I could drink this all day long. I think it's
63 points
it's
is-
really nice. Alan, who is a dyed-in-the-wool Glaswegian, says it's his favourite so far. So that's always a ringing endorsement. I want to know, Frank, what are you finding with the drams tonight? Because you don't normally like a wine finish, and these are obviously a wine starter.
This one is the first one I start to enjoy. Honest, it's wine finish is not mine, but well, if you never try, you'll never know.
Yeah.
The first three are not mine, but they get better. So there's up until now the sequence is going the correct way, so to speak.
You might convert him by the end of the night, it sounds like.
We'll see.
Yeah, Phil's saying toffee apple on the nose. Not sure if you've got those in Switzerland. That's a good question. It's definitely his favourite of the night as well. I think this is dangerous. A bottle of Liss, a group of friends. You could see a good night in, couldn't you, with this?
So, in my opinion, all our cask-proof whiskies are incredibly easy drinking and soft, yet very aromatic. And this is the reason why is we only use the hard cut of the distillation process, and we really slowly distillate our product. So you just have the best pot possible out of your pot still, and that's also the reason why they are really smooth and drinkable after not that long time of maturing. So the higher the quality of your spirit is that you fill into your cask, the less you have to leave it into the cask to get it smooth, because when it's already smooth going in the cask, then yeah, you just need a couple of years to take the aromas out of the cask, but it's already smooth, right?
It's definitely going down a treat with the people in the chat anyway. Ben agrees with me. You could have 1 dram, 2 dram, 3 drams floor with this one. Dangerous dram to have in the cupboard.
Yes. So just a little anecdote. Sometimes people ask me, why do you have a whole zoo with all those animals, those old animals, with the old deer, the old bear, the old woodpecker, the old crow, and whatnot? Why is that? And this also originated in the very beginning in 2008, when Hans had the first whiskies that were matured, and he, as I told you, he started after his retirement, so he wasn't a young man anymore, and his friends weren't young men anymore too, and they sat down and he showed them his new whiskey that he produced and matured for 3 years, and they were like, it's really good, it's really smooth, we really enjoy it, but Hans, to be honest, who are you making this for? Who should drink this in the end? And he said in Swiss German, das für euch alte Hirsche, which means that's for you old deers, okay? And because he said that's for you old deers, then he named it Old Deer for his friends. And after that, the second one then was the bear. The bear was always on the on the shield of the family Baumberger, and as well on the logo of the brewery that was founded in 1857. So naturally, the bear came in mind when he was looking for a second name for his second whiskey. And because the first one was the old deer, then the second one was the old bear, and from then on it just kept going and going and going with all those old animals.
I say it's really great to hear the story. Ben says it's a great brand story as well, so he's enjoying it. What's the distillery's output in a year generally?
Yeah, we do not talk about that, but it's not a lot. If you compare, I don't know, what is an average pot still in Scotland, size, like, I don't know, maybe up to 50,000 liter capacity, something like that, whiskey beer holding wise. I guess, right? Or you guys know?
I think there's huge variation. Loch Lomond do 25 million litres a year, and then some of them do much, much smaller sort of batches than that. Darthmill must be one of the smallest main distilleries. They only distill. Oh, sorry, Frank?
Dornoch is the smallest. It's 20,000 litre a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the smallest.
So,
there are some grain whiskey distilleries that are even larger than Loch Lomond.
okay. Well, as I said, I think that the pot stills are holding up to 50,000 liters of whiskey beer, and just in comparison, our biggest pot still holds 500 liters of whiskey beer. Okay, and we have 3 pot stills: a 500 liter, a 250 liter, and a 100 liter. Okay, so you can, yeah, you see, it's not that big of a capacity, but we do not tell how much it is exactly.
That's fair enough. You've got to keep a few things close to your chest, I think, in business.
Yes.
It does make it easier for you to source good casks because you don't need to find quite as many.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just can pick the absolute best of the best, you know? We don't have to go there and say we need all the casks you have. We just say we just want the best casks available, and we just pick them out. And if we just buy 3 at a time, that's fine with us, right? Okay, you guys in the mood for some peaty, smoky whiskey? I am. So let's go for it. Old Crow. Now, as I said, we are talking peat smoke. So not beechwood smoke as we had at the Old Bear or the Winter Wedding. No, we are talking here classical peated whiskey. We have a maturation in different red wine casks, so only red wine casks, and an ABV of 46. And in my opinion, as well, a really well-balanced whiskey. So it's not like a really, really heavy peated whiskey. It's well balanced, in my opinion. The fruitiness and the smokiness they both are very I don't know, reachable, or you really can taste fruitiness and smokiness side by side.
I think you're right. So the fruit comes first, and then you just get that smoke coming in at the end, and it starts building and building and building. But yeah, it's different to. I mean, I've got a bottle of Octomore next to me, so you can probably imagine the sort of peat I normally go for. But I think this is quite nice and subtle, and it just works its way in. Robert let me try this. I think it was at the Midlands Festival, and I was really impressed. And one of the reasons we wanted you guys in tonight. So it's just, it's really nice to try it again. Ben saying rolling tobacco, so he's reliving his student days. I think salted peanuts as well. What do people think of this one and the dram so far tonight?
I've enjoyed all of them, to be honest. I think the last two have been my favourites overall, which makes sense. I think kind of a good lineup then if it's done that way. You know, like your favourites come towards the end.
Frank, I'm going to have to bring you in to say that one. I can't do the. I'm not even going to attempt the pronunciation.
Brente Glühwein.
Thank God I didn't attempt the pronunciation.
It's burnt, and I just don't know what Glühwein is in English. It's the winter wine, which is drank during Christmas with all the herbs in it.
It's similar to old wine, isn't it? Mulled wine.
Old wine? Well, probably, yeah.
Like a hot sangria. Kind of.
No, this is not sangria.
Simon, were you coming in then?
No, I was just saying about mulled wine. That's all. But no, they're lovely drams. Yeah, the old deer. Yes, dangerous but lovely.
Then you go to the Christmas markets in Scotland and you get malt buckfast instead.
Mulled buckfast.
That's legitimately the thing, like a Glasgow whiskey, the Glasgow like Christmas fair. They do what's the stands have mulled buckfast as an option if you want it.
I still haven't worked out. So if you've ever been to Dartmoor Distillery, it's literally 30 seconds down the road from Buckfast Abbey, yet they still haven't done a Buckfast finished Dartmoor whiskey yet. So I'm not quite sure why they haven't done that. But probably a good time to say, Robert, that you've given us a discount code, which I'll share after the tasting. So as well as providing a couple of bottles tonight, Robert's given us a discount. So if anyone does want to order anything, I'm not sure what website do they need to go to, Robert, for that?
Yeah, it's for my own website. We don't actually have everything you've tried tonight. We have the Old Crow, the Chateau Creffer, and the Old Deer Cask. But the code will give you free shipping on anything from our website. So there are some other Langatun bottlings on there that we haven't tried tonight. So I don't know. Do you want me to tell you the prices, or do you want to?
I'll let people. I'll share the website and the code after the tasting, so you guys can sort of take advantage and see what's on there. But yeah, thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah, if people are looking for Winter Wedding, I don't have that, but I explained earlier that it looks the Nichols and Perks are the best place to head for that. The Kadira, I can't see anyone with it, and so I can't. It must have been last year. No, it wasn't. It must have been 2021 that we had the Kadira. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything coming out soon that you can tell us about, or what's sort of next for you guys?
Since I saw you, we've had a port cask.
Oh,
port cask finish arrived.
Okay, well, Ryan, who's listening in, will be very excited about the port cask finish.
I don't know, Philip, what have you got coming next year?
What can I tell you? I don't know what actually will go to the UK, but the next cask finish that we are planning will be in the beginning of next year. It's called Montbazillac cask finish. Montbazillac is a French sweet wine, and it's a really sweet whiskey. So this sweet wine from France really gives it a lot of sweetness. Really interesting for someone who likes sweet whiskey. If you prefer dry whiskey, I'm gonna be honest with you, not really something for you. It's really more of the sweet side, and we will bring that probably is my favorite that is coming to the market next year, is a 12 years old single grain pot still whiskey. That'll be amazing. The first and only single grain produced by Langatun. We have only one cask. It's as I told you, 12 years old. So a cask from the beginning when Hans did some experiments, and he did one single grain cask, and we will bottle that next year. This one will be very interesting. And oh yeah, there will be a absolute. Can I tell you that? Yeah, okay. just don't tell anyone else, okay? A couple of years ago, it was in the year 2016, if I'm not wrong, we brought out to the market a bottling called Hellfire, which with an ABV of 81%, okay? Single sherry cask. And it was amazing. And next year we will bring the second Hellfire edition, and it'll be probably over 80 ABV as well. And it's just amazing. I'm really excited about that one.
That sounds incredible. We'll have to get you back for another tasting when that's available. So has anyone else got any other questions they want to ask, or anyone want to share what their favourite was of the night? Well, apparently... Oh, sorry, Che.
No, I was just going to say, I say as a favourite, I'd probably have said that Old Deer Calf Strengths. I say that's probably the favourite of mine of the lineup. But all really interesting drams. Something like, it's interesting hearing the Chardonnay cask kept being used so much. It's not something you can't hear of as much from everywhere else. Trying it, it's interesting, something different. And yeah, it's almost so surprising because it's with ex-bourbon cask being so readily available in comparison to Chardonnay cask, it must be kind of much more expensive choice. Do you find that it's worth it in terms of the flavour you get from it, or is it just as like a differentiator almost?
Well, the reason because of the Chardonnay is one thing. When Hans started, he did not wanted to copy any whiskeys that were around. He said, I don't want to. I mean, to be honest, no one in the world was waiting for Swiss whiskey, right? I mean, why the fuck should the Swiss do whiskey as well? I mean, we have Scotland, we have Ireland, we have America, now we have Japan, and why should the Swiss do it as well? So he said, I want to do it differently, you know? And we have a very rich wine culture in Switzerland. We really drink a lot of wine around here, and so he said, yeah, wine casks, that's something really Swiss, that's something unique. And as soon as he tried it and he fell in love, he did a lot of experimenting with different wine casks, but he really fell in love with the fresh fruitiness of the white wine of the Chardonnay, and that's why he kept buying the Chardonnay casks.
I think I would add that I don't know, Philip, if you let anyone ever taste your new make spirit, but I think you're not a high volume distillery, so I think it's a great marketing, not just a marketing ploy, but it's a great angle to go for that sort of specialty wine cask finish, and it suits, you know, with being a Swiss distillery as well. But what I've really enjoyed tonight personally is that sometimes I think wine cask finishes or wine cask maturations, you can lose the core of the whiskey within it. And I've been able to pick out stuff across all 5 drams tonight that I would say would be core to the spirit that you're making. So personally, if you do that and we do another one of these, I'd really love to try the new make, because I think I can pick out stuff across the 5 drams. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we used to sell actually our new spirit, but we don't anymore. If you want to try it now, you have to visit the distillery. Yes.
Looks like the road trip's on then, Phil. We organise the bus, we'll fill it. So yeah, I think it's been really good tonight. It's been really nice to try such a variety of different cask types, different finishes. But like Ben said, to try and follow the distillery character throughout has been really nice as well. So I think everything I've tasted that Robert's brought to a festival has been really nice, and has always sort of hit the spot. So I'd be really interested to try the Hellfire next year, and also I know someone else, I'm not going to even, Le Mans Bizilac cask is how I'm going to say it. Cairo did a finish of that at the London Whiskey Show, and I thought it was really nice. They're obviously making rye whiskey, but yeah, really excited to see what your whiskey does within that cask. So it'd be another one for us to sort of keep an eye on. So Robert, yeah, keep us informed when they hit the UK. Phil says it's great tasting. He's enjoyed all of them, and the last 2 were absolutely lovely. And he's going to be all over the Hellfire as well. So I think lots of interest in that coming to the UK at some point.
I'm just gonna go and grab the bottle of Hellfire. I got some at home. I show you the bottle. So it's really a rememberable bottle. Just 1 second. So if you think the label is nice, up to you, but it's definitely something special.
Well, we have a lot of heavy metal fans in the Discord group, so I'm sure that's going to go down a treat. Phil's already saying very metal, so now you're just teasing us, having a smell.
Will you be stocking that one, Robert?
Hopefully, yeah. Well, we didn't get it last time, but I think the last time you did it was just as we were starting. So yeah, and I was a bit nervous about the strength of it, to be honest. But we since then I did import a gin at 82.5%.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So yeah, this one is from October 60.
I didn't get thrown in jail for that, so it was okay. So yeah. But that one's only 60%.
Sorry.
What's the strength of the Hellfire, Philip?
81.
81. Okay.
Yes. Anyone know a stronger whiskey than 81 proof? 81 ABV? I don't.
Well, the thing in Scotch is that we tend to, the new make comes off the still in the 70s and then goes into the cask at 63.5.
In Wales, the Penderyn comes out 95.
95.
But they have to. They bring it down rather quick, so then they will not put it in the cask at 95.
Yeah.
But
They had the Bruichladdich X4, didn't they? Which was high.
but it's only occasionally that there is a whiskey of might be the 92 or so, but it's only occasionally.
The Penderyn ones, because they use Faraday steel, so it's like a mix between pot and column, so it comes off at a higher volume. But Frank's right, the only way they'll let you try their new make is they spray it on your hands like a hand sanitizer, and then you have to sniff it as it evaporates.
Yeah, I think Bruichladdich did a 92%.
Yeah.
Quadruple distilled before.
Penderyn, actually, Frank, last time I was there, they're starting up, so they've got their main distillery with La Faraday still. Then they've got in Llandudno, they're building their peated distillery. And then Swansea, they're building a grain distillery. So I think they're trying to basically create a monopoly in Wales. But they've actually got some pot stills now, so I wonder whether they're going to try and experiment with a lower ABV. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll see. But 81 definitely is a high strength, yes.
But
So
your new make's normally 87.5, isn't it?
We have, yes, around 87.5. Then we diluted down to 64. So it goes normally into the cask with 64. Yeah. But I have to say, I was really skeptical with the ABV of 81. To be honest, I thought like whatever I have had in the past, spirit-wise, and that strength was not drinkable at all. All right, and then I had this one, and I had to say, it's of course it's stronger than the 60 ABV. Definitely, you get that, but. The same reaction you have when you're drinking, for example, the old deer cask proof. It's like, no way that's 60 ABV. Same with the 81. It's like, it's stronger, but it's really drinkable. Not just drinkable, enjoyable. It's really good.
Oh, I was going to say, given how smooth the old cask strength was, I think we can believe that in terms of that increase in ABV. Obviously, it suits your spirit to be at that sort of ABV.
The concentration of aroma is amazing.
Does anyone have any questions before we finish recording? Okay, well, in that case, I'll just thank Philip and Robert for your time tonight. It's been really interesting, really informative, and some really great drams. So thank you, and we're looking forward to having you back for the next one.
Well, thanks so much for having us. Have a good Christmas and all that.
Can I just, before everyone goes, obviously thanks Philip and thanks Robert, but also thank Tom for organising the bottle split as well. It's been well received tonight, so thank you, Tom.
No, thanks, Ben. Well, glad we got that on the recording anyway.